I hope you're having an amazing day. So today we're going to talk about connecting Einstein analytics to an external data, right? So what we're going to do, it's a very simple task. What we're going to do, we will connect to a CSV file that's uploaded in an AWS S3. That's a simple storage service. It's provided by Amazon Web Service. It's an object storage using a web interface in simple terms. I won't be covering in detail about AWS because this is not an Amazon session. So what we're going to do, we will connect to AWS S3, right, using an external data connector. And then we will see how to retrieve information from a CSV file stored in an S3, right? That's all we're going to do. And we're going to look at some little bit of sharing as well, how to share your dashboard. That's all pretty much we're going to do. Sounds simple, right? Cool. Let's dive in. The first thing first, you need to log into your you need to log into your AWS account as well, the first thing, right? Because since we are dealing with S3, you need to have an AWS web service account. It's you get 12 months free account for trial and for trial. In other words, you can do hands-on with that, right? To see if you really wanted to, go with AWS. So AWS gives that flexibility where you can, sign in for a 12 months free hands-on org, simple words, or console, right? Okay, so then you need to log into your Einstein org, right? So I've already mentioned how to log into Einstein org or register for Einstein org in my first lecture. If you haven't watched it, I will highly encourage you to go and check that out. Cool. All right, the first thing first, what we're going to do, we're going to go to, so when you log in, you will go, you will be presented with this screen, mostly the setup screen. So depending upon the time of the year you're watching this video. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to jump into Einstein Analytics Studio. And then we have so far dealt with the data set from the Salesforce object, right? We talked about leads, we talked about custom object, we created an account, so we used those to create a data set, and we even used data, and we talked about recipes as well, right? So we so far we have dealt with only the data that comes from the Salesforce database. So today we're going to connect to an external, right? So to do that, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our data manager here, right? And then so when we go to data manager, we have something called connect here, right? And so when you go to connect here, right, so you have an option called connect to data, right? So when you connect to data, right, so you have this something called add connection, right? So when you go to add connection, you can see you can connect to a lot of external providers. Salesforce connector, you're gonna have AWS Redshift connector, we have Heroku, Postgres. If you are someone who use Microsoft's Dynamic CRM, you can connect that as well. Google BigQuery, right, and AWS Azure SQL database, AWS Azure, sorry, not AWS, my mistake, Azure SQL Warehouse, and then AWS RDS, AWS SQL Server. When I started learning cloud for the first time, I learned AWS, so that's why I'm a bit biased towards AWS. So my apologies for that. There are people who are Azure fan. Azure is great. I mean, I've used Azure as well. So, but if I have to choose between AWS and Azure, I often prefer AWS. That's my preference, though. All right, okay, cool. Sorry, I digress. Then you have all this Oracle. You can connect to SAP and NetSuite and kind of stuff, right? You can Marketo. I don't know what Marketo is. So yeah. All right, so what we're going to do, our areas of interest today is AWS S3, right? So we're going to go here, and so what we're going to need, connection name, so I'm going to put it as test AWS, right? Developer name, it should be an API name, so this is should be unique, right? Test AWS as well, description, I'm going to put test AWS. Don't worry about master symmetric key, right? Yeah, the secret key, folder path, and access key. This we have to get it from AWS, right? So let's jump into AWS console. Leave it open here. So when you log into AWS Management Console, you get something like this, right? So this is very nice and easy interface, right? So these are the different services, yeah, compute and kind of stuff. I'm not gonna talk about this today. I'm gonna start a separate session about AWS. That's later in 10 p.m. University. So I don't want to digress from the main topic. So our areas of interest is S3. So since I've recently used the service, so it highlights here. If you want to find S3, you can even search for here S3, right? It takes you to S3 here, right? Or you can go here under storage, right? So there are a lot of stuff here. So okay, so what we're gonna do, so we're gonna go to S3, and it will give you an option called create bucket. Bucket is like a folder, right? So I got different folders here. So this is what I'm interested into, right? So, and I've created another folder called test inside, and I've added these two CSV files. So these two CSV files are nothing much. It's a comma separated file. It has three data here. So that's pretty much it. And so if you look at the CSV file, let me open this for you just to show you. It's a basic data. So hang on. Right. Okay, hang on. That's not what we wanted. Okay. So right. So okay. So what I've done. Hang on. So this is something called the data.csv. So this is what I've used, right? And so I have copied this to schema because that's what Salesforce recommends, that you need to have schema. This to actually tells you the schema information, right? So this is how they tell you to name it. So I have named this file as the schema.csv, right? And then I created a so what we're gonna do. So I will, for your information, so I'm gonna right, keep it. I'm gonna delete this one here, right? And gonna delete it, right? And I'm gonna upload that data dot. Okay, let me close this one here, so that it's gonna upload. Hang on, is that data or? Let me see. All right, no, it's not test dot, so it's obviously it's a data dot. So I'm gonna upload the data.csv here, right? And then I'm gonna do next. So I'm gonna rewrite object permission. So okay, I'm gonna make it as a public. Usually they say not to do it, just for the sake of demo purpose. I'm just gonna keep it standard, right? I don't want any other storage class for now. So I'm gonna upload it, right? Okay, so that's uploaded, so nice and easy, right? So what I've done, right? So I've created a bucket. So the bucket is already exists. So in your case, it might be case there is already bucket. Bucket is like a folder, right? So I created another folder inside it called test, right? And then uploaded two files. So schema. This is very important, the name, because it actually tells you the schema of the file you're trying to upload, right? CSV file. And then I give them the public access, right? That's pretty much all I have to do. And then you need to go and get your access keys. The way you go and get the access key, you just go to your name, and then you go to security credentials, right? And then it will you have this access key, and so this is one of the things. If not, you can activate it. So I've activated for this demo purpose, and I'm gonna delete it soon. So yeah, that's pretty much you have to do, because you need to, if you, the best way I would do is just to when you say create a new access key, it will ask you to download it. So I often download in the form of an Excel to keep it aside, right? And so yeah, I mean, once you have that information, what do you have to do? so you go back to your here, and you just secret key. So this is the secret key. I'll just copy it here, and so I'm gonna put it here. The folder path is usually is the name of this one, right? So the one thing I wanted to tell you, let's say you have multiple folders, right? Nested folders, right? I have test. Then you can think about it. You have a test. Inside test you have another folder, right, called test1, right? And inside test1 you have this file. So you need to specify the folder name till test, right? So the first name slash the second name, then you need to leave the folder which contains the file. So in our case we only rely on the first root folder name. So in this case we gonna copy this one, right? And we don't have to we are not gonna do test, right? Because that's how the convention that there's a documentation mentioned in the Salesforce developer guide. So so which clearly talks about how to do that. I'll share with you that documentation on the description below for information. And then you have an access key. So I'm gonna put the access key here. Okay, and then you're gonna save it. So it has to pass the test, so it will give you a message. So connection was successful, so that's pretty good. Then you're gonna continue it. So we have this created. So what mistake I did initially when I was doing, right? You remember I talked about the schema.sample. So I haven't uploaded that file. Instead, I just put the data.csv. And then when I tried to connect, right, it complained that it couldn't find schema.csv. So I have to copy the same and then put the schema.csv. Just work, right? Okay. So what I've done after that. So this is what the new connection looks like. So double click on that one, and then it will tell you the name of the connection. So the test. That's our data source, right? And it's not enabled. So you're gonna do continue. So, all right, there you go. We got first name, last name. So you choose all of it, right? And then you're gonna do continue, right? So these are the data. So dummy data. You can put whatever data you want, right? Depending upon your business requirement. So for just to make it simple, so I have the header and the detail, right? So first name, last name, age, and then I'm gonna save it, right? So. Okay, and then once I've saved this information, so you need to create a data set out of it. So I'll tell you how to do that. It's going to take a while sometimes, depending upon the connection speed. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes, sometimes, right, just take a minute. All right, so now scroll down. You got this external data, right? So now you go here, right, and then you need to run the data sync. Now, you need to run this data sync. Otherwise, you won't be able to create a data set, right? So it's going to take a while, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, depends, like in a previous case, right? Of running the regular data set, it often took like 45 seconds, at times a minute. So once that's done, we're going to look at it. Still running. Yeah, so while it's running, so what happens is that this purely depends upon your business requirement, right? At times, what happens, you might be using data from somewhere else. I've seen the case studies like where they use AWS to do all the machine learning stuff, right? And they generate the data in the form of CSV, and then they upload it to Einstein for data visualization, right? So that's some of the I've seen a couple of case studies, right, where they've used all the machine learning, all the AI stuff, right, on AWS, because they have a lot of data coming through AWS. So but at the same time they're using Salesforce, so they're integrated using external data, because you can upload the CSV, right, using the connectors. So yeah, that's one of the case scenario. So AWS is pretty popular cloud. Even Google Cloud is popular, and Azure as well, right? So okay, so this is sync, right? So which is pretty cool, and you gotta the field values here. right? And you continue here, and right, you're gonna save it. Okay, preview. This is where you're just previewing the data source. And right, so nothing fancy here. So we got a data here. So and that's how you actually run the data set, right? So so that's how you connect to an external source, and I hope that's pretty clear for you guys how to do that, right? So there are different data source. So let's say if I wanted to create a data set, we don't want this one. All right, create data flow. Just gonna do test data flow. All right, and create it, and so SFT digest, and you're gonna do source object. I don't remember what is that test. All right, so create a recipe here, right? Test. Create a recipe, right? Continue. Now run this time. Right, so this is how you create it. My apologies that I was trying to do the other way around. So yeah. So we gonna go back to data manager here, and then we're gonna go to monitor. I'm trying to show you how to use that in a chart, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. If you wanted to get a data from a external data source, and then how to use it. So you need to go to that external data, right, from Connect, and then you need to go to this option to create a recipe, right? So that's how you do it, which is pretty good. And let's see if it's running. Monitor. Okay, so that's done. So test recipe is done, so which is fantastic. And now we have a data set here, right? And then what we're gonna do, so we're gonna go to our dashboard, right? We're gonna create a new dashboard. So we're gonna do here, we're gonna do a dashboard here, and then we're gonna drag it here, and so test recipe, right? And right, so bars, first name, last name, right? And this will be H, right? And it's gonna delete. All right, so let's change it to another. Okay, I'm gonna delete. No, just wanted to delete it. I'm gonna do donut start here. Okay, right, done. All right, so I mean, it's not a perfect example of of the data set, but you get the point. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get the data from an external source and bring it to Einstein, and then use that in the chart, right? That's all I wanted to do today. So that's exactly what we demonstrated. So I'm gonna repeat the process here. The first thing what we did, right? So we went to where is this data manager, and then we so what we did. So we went to connect, and then we did connect to data, right? And then we used add connection, and then we chose that I tested to connect to S3, AWS S3, and then filled out the information there. And then management console, I demonstrated how to upload a file, right? And then where to get the secret keys, right? So once you have all this information ready, you punch in all this information and then run the data sync, right? Once you do that, go to connect, and then you go and create a recipe from here, right? And once you do that, your data set is ready, right? And then so you can use that in your chart, right? That's pretty simple. Okay, now this is all fantastic, right? Everything is great. Now, you know, there's a issue here about sharing, right? So you can restrict your data set, and you can even restrict your chart, who you want to share with, right? So for instance, like I have this chart, right, which was created a long time ago. So I can share this chart. Sorry, not the data set. Dashboard, I mean, sorry. Okay, so I can share this dashboard, right, to user or to your group, right? I can do that. And that user can able to use whatever options they want with that, right? So, but they can use this dashboard. You can actually share your app, right? You can share this with the user, right? And you can also do one more stuff, right? You can actually use the sharing in your data set. So when we go to data manager here, and then let's say we go this test recipe here. Not this one. Let's say we got this data flow, right? And then not this one. Hang on a second. I always get confused with this one. Just a second. Right. Okay. Okay, edit data set. Right, edit data set. Right, so when you edit the data set, right, so this is where you add the security predicate. So you can add, for instance, like which user you want to see. You can say owner ID equals to, you know, user.id, which makes sure that you can only see your information, records. It's like, it's called the row level security, right? So where you can only see the records created by you. So you can control that on your data set using this one. Right, this is one of the options you can do. So yeah, so that's pretty much I wanted to talk about, right? So yeah, I know that today's session is just it's a little bit about connecting to external sources and sharing. I didn't cover much about on the visualization side of things, but I thought this information will be handy for you if you are an organization who wanted to get the information from external sources. You can use Azure, and you can use whatever the connectors that Salesforce Einstein support, right? So you can use that as well. So that's all I wanted to cover today, guys. So I hope you find this useful. Sorry, that's I've been a bit unwell today, so yeah, that's my presentation may not be that great today. My apologies for that. Right, so yeah, so next time we're going to talk about another topic, right? So I think I'm going to cover two more topics about Einstein, then I'm going to end this one because this is merely an introduction course, right? It's not really, deep dive. So we're going to talk about more into more detail when I start talking about the certification pathway. So I have planned to cover Einstein certification pathway, everything that comes included in the certification. I have planned to cover that in the future, not soon. First, I need to talk about App Builder certification, then we're going to talk about Einstein, right? So that's the plan. All right, guys, so that's all I wanted to talk about it today. Thank you so much for your time. Adios and greetings from New Zealand. Bye-bye.